Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra. Happy Sunday. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and we will be glad in it. I am so grateful to be bringing you guys a word today on surrendering to God. The Lord has been so gracious and so good in spite of everything to me, and I know that you all have a story where the Lord has also been so gracious and so good to you as well, in spite of your troubles, because He has been good to me in spite of my troubles. So, because the Lord is present in our life and He is a never changing Father, we must worship Him and be grateful for who He is, be grateful for His presence, and be grateful for the goodness that He brings amongst us, regardless to what we may be going through. So, yes. Thank you for tuning in to Minutes of Inspiration. I pray that you are having a fantastic Sunday and that you know that you are loved by God and you are also loved by many. So the word for today is surrender. Surrender. So I was in the journaling group yesterday again on Zoom, and I so love it. I talked about this in a podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, of how I love the journaling group because I love to journal. I write every day. It's what I do. Um, not a whole lot, but I have a glad technique that I write on every day. And it's something that I'm grateful for, something that I learned, something that I accomplished, and something that brings a delight for me. So I'm so grateful when I am able to journal. And I'm also grateful to be able to journal with other journalers, other women that enjoy journaling. So yesterday, one of the journaling prompts was on surrender. We have a few different points that we can choose from, and the one that I chose was the one on surrender because the word surrender has been coming about in my life so frequently. It has been like for the last couple of months, I may be having a conversation with someone. Someone may be asking me, what is my word for the month? I mean, just all types of conversations. The word surrender, some kind of way, always comes about. So it has been a strong word that has been surrounding me. So I thought it would be a great idea to talk on the word surrender today because it is a word that has been constantly in my face. It is a word that has been constantly in my face. So I really want to talk about it. I really want to sit with you guys and discuss what surrender means to me and just the biblical transformation of surrendering, the biblical outlook on surrendering. But so before I get to that, I was able to be in the house of the Lord today again. So this is 2 weeks in a row. So yay. Yay for me, because you guys know I have been struggling since the pandemic to be in the house of the Lord every single Sunday. Pre-pandemic, I was there every Sunday, every Wednesday, without a doubt. And I know that, working from home and the pandemic and all of the changes that we have had over the last 4 years have put, a damper on my consistency in that area. It gets so comfortable to be able to just watch online, and also my move because I live in a different location now as well. So before the church was like 10 or 15 minutes for me, and now it's about a 45-minute drive with toll. So that also plays a part. But I have been, back into going in person, and I have been pushing for that to be every single Sunday. I have been doing it maybe twice a month, 3 times a month, but once a month sometimes, but I'm always tuned in. Whether I'm there in person or not, I'm still tuned in online, but I really, really, really want to get back tuned in person consistently. So today I decided to visit a church that's close to where I live now. I also went through some of that last year with just moving and trying to find my footing. And you guys know, you guys are family, so I tell the T, I put everything out there. So yes, if you are following Minutes of Inspiration, you are family to me. If you are a subscriber, you are family to me. So when I moved last year, I was trying to find my way because I knew for me, driving 45 minutes every Sunday was going to be a lot for me, especially with me working from home now and not really having to drive that distance on a regular, between that, between the tolls, between gas, just all these things. And I was like, I really love my church home. I've been there for over 5 years. I love my pastor. I love my church home. And with the move, I had to find a location that was closer, and I did, and that's still about a 20-minute drive. But I really wanted something like down the street. Like, I have always been a person who likes, you know, convenience. I've always been a person who likes convenience, if I'm going to be honest. So I like something that doesn't take me that long to get there, not a lot of traffic or no traffic at all. I am a city girl now with a small town mentality. If you don't know, I grew up in a small town. My town was 4,000 people. So for the first 18 years of my life, I grew up in a town that only had 4,000 people. Everywhere we went was around the corner. Everywhere, everything we did was up the street and around the corner. We had about 3 to 4 red lights in my whole little town. So even though I've been in the city for 20 plus years, I still have a small town, country girl mentality in a certain way. And I've been in the city for a long time, but I still love that up the street and around the corner. I don't want to deal with the traffic and all that, on a regular, especially the older that I have gotten. So, saying all that to say, so there, when I moved back over on this side of town where I'm at now, last year, I was kind of in between trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I want to continue to drive 45 minutes, to the church that I love? Or did I want to find something that was closer and go out there every now and then? Like, I was just all trying to figure it out. I was really trying to figure out how I was going to maneuver everything, with the move. I love where I live now. I love where I live. So I knew that I had to figure it out. And during that figuring it out time, I tried a lot of different locations. Um, so I was, just trying to figure it out, but I still kept feeling like I need to go that 45-minute drive to where I've been for so long because I was so rooted there. Just being there. Like I said, I love my church. I love my pastor and the way that he delivers the message and all that. So I was just trying to figure it all out. And I think I finally have figured it out. Today I visited a church, like I said, that was around the corner from me, 10 minutes or less. And although it was a great service, I really, really, really enjoyed it. He did a service on Run to Win. It was amazing. It was what I needed to understand to keep going, no matter what is going on, no matter if you're tired, no matter how you feel, just to keep going, to run to win, because the Lord never loses a battle. He always wins. He is a winner. So we must, as Christians, run to win. So it was a great message. And I was so grateful that I was able to be in the house of the Lord there today just to visit. I'm grateful to be surrounded also by other good churches, because there are many good churches. So I'm also grateful to be in a location now where I'm also surrounded by another good church if I don't want to make the 45-minute drive, but I'm still rooted in my home church. So it's just good sometimes to visit other locations and to just see what else is out there. Um, so I was just grateful to be in the house of the Lord today and to be in the presence amongst his people. So being obedient to getting up this morning, getting dressed, getting in the building, I was able to connect with someone today at church. And that doesn't happen to me on a regular. I'm going to be very, very honest with you guys. That does not happen to me on the regular. The only time I really connect with people by going to church, honestly, is whenever I join a small group. And honestly, that's hit or miss. But today, out of nowhere, someone complimented me on my locks and we had a conversation. She also had locks. So we just started chatting, exchanged phone numbers. And I was just grateful for that because the Lord knows my heart. And I'm always looking to meet new people and to be able, especially within the church, to be able to meet new people and just, grow and branch out. And I love, connecting with like-minded individuals. So I was just so grateful that the Lord just connected that and let me know that he sees me and that he hears me and he knows the things that I'm looking for and the things that I desire. So it was great. I was so grateful to be able to connect with someone at the visiting church today, because like I said, I look for that. Now that my son is, graduating next year and, he goes to church with his dad, it's me by myself, so now it gets lonely, when you go to church and it's just you by yourself. I'm single, I'm not married. So, just going by yourself, it does get lonely. I'm used to having at least my son with me on Sundays, but, over the last year and a half, it's been just me, unless I connect with friends occasionally to meet up at church, but normally it's just me. So sometimes it gets lonely being just me. And I want, someone else to be able to be there with me. It just feels better because I believe that the whole purpose of meeting and gathering together in a building is so that you can come along with other like-minded believers and you guys can like love on each other and actually do life together and actually commune together. That's the whole purpose of coming together with a group, coming together in a house with other people. Otherwise, we could just be in the presence of the Lord at home, alone. And there's nothing wrong with being in the presence at home alone. That also is very important. That's what we do as believers during the week. We spend time with the Lord one on one in our homes alone. But it's also great to come into fellowship with other believers. But when you come into that fellowship, you want to have other people that are actually walking beside you, that are actually asking you how you're doing and actually meaning it, that are actually, joining hands with you, exchanging phone numbers, meeting up for dinner or lunch. Those are things that we truly need in the church. Those are things that we truly need in this generation, especially with the pandemic and everything and people being so lonely. So I was so grateful that God connected me with someone today out of nowhere, on just a compliment. And the compliment started the conversation and we were able to exchange numbers and all that good stuff. So I'm just so, so, so grateful for that. So just saying, sometimes we have to get out of our comfort zone and go where the people are because we never know, what type of divine connection that the Lord may have. Um, so it just shows me that He knows, He sees, He's watching, He understands our heart. And we have to just get out of our comfort zone and go. Because if I would have been home watching online today, I would have never been able to interact with another person. I would have never been able to have that connection, And like I said, that doesn't happen to me on the regular. There are times that I'm out and I'm about and I don't get that interaction. So you can easily fall into, oh, okay, it's not going to happen. I've been 1,000 times and no one has said anything, but you never know. Just that one time that you do go, God may send someone to say hello to you and actually connect with you. So just to encourage you guys with that, if you are one that, believes that you can just watch online and you don't have to ever go and, that's not important, just know that just like that happened for me today, it could happen to you. And who knows, that you could meet your, your husband that way, or men, you can meet your wife that way. You never know. Sometimes we just have to get out of our comfort zone. And surrender to what the Lord wants us to do, and just go for it. Just go for it. So again, I'm just so grateful that, that situation took place today, because it gave me hope. It gave me hope that there are still divine connections out in the world. And even though they don't come all the time, we have to position ourselves in the right place for those things to happen. And again, it may not happen every single time, but you never know. By just saying hello to someone, by just complimenting someone, you may make their day, because you never know what somebody else is dealing with or what they're battling with. And just you saying, hey, how are you doing? That may make someone's day. So just be on the lookout for that, and also be the person to be that person, to say, hey, how you doing to somebody, or to compliment someone, or what, or whatever, because I'm also that person. I never mind. I never, feel bad about complimenting people. Like, I'm always the one to compliment people on whatever, because I know that it's a great thing, and it doesn't take away from me to be kind and compliment someone else. And you just never know how you may be making that person's day just by a small thing. You never know how long it may have been since that person has even had anyone say, how are you doing? So we never know. So I'm the person to bring love to the world, for us to just wake up and realize the importance of intentional connection and community, and intentionally surrendering to God, because we never know what He may do when we do decide to surrender. So, what does surrender mean biblically? Biblically, surrender is a spiritual act of giving up one's will and submitting to the will of God. It's a conscious decision to trust in God and embrace His plan for our lives. I'm going to repeat it. Biblically, surrender is a spiritual act of giving up one's will and submitting to the will of God. It's a conscious decision to trust in God and embrace His plan for your life. It's a conscious decision to trust in God and embrace His plan for our life. So, key word. For one, it's a conscious decision. We have to make the decision to surrender. We have to trust in God. We have to trust and believe. And we have to embrace His plan for our life. And if you live long enough, my grandma used to always say, keep living. And when I was a little girl, I was like, what? I'm not understanding what that means. But as a grown woman, I understand what she means. Keep living, keep going, keep trusting who God says that He is, and embrace His plan for our life, because His plan is not always our plan. We have these thoughts and desires and things that scripts that we have wrote in our minds for what our life should look like, and what it should be, and where we should be by now, and what we should have by now. And those are our own scripts. Those are not necessarily the scripts that God has wrote for us. And we have to embrace His plan for our life, because at the end of the day, it's His plan that's going to come to pass anyway. We do have choices. Our life depends on a lot of our life, not all of it, but a lot of our life depends on our choices. So we do have choices, and things that we choose to do. There's either going to be a great outcome, or there's going to be a consequence, but we still have to make those choices daily. But we also must know that we have to embrace the plan that the Lord has for us. He has a plan for all of us. He has a purpose and a plan for all of us, and we have to trust him and surrender and believe that his plan is better than our plan and that he has everything under control. So, going with surrender, I have a devotion in my book that I wrote that was published last year that's called Faith Walk to Healing. It's my first devotion in the book, and I want to read that to you guys. I want to read you guys the first devotion in my book. And if you don't have Faith Walk to Healing and you would like to purchase it, you can order it on Amazon. You can order it on Amazon. If you don't have the book and you would like to have it, it's a devotional. And it's a devotional on all types of inspirational things. So yeah, the devotion that I'm going to read to you guys goes hand in hand with today's topic on surrendering. So it reads, although I do not know the outcome, I have taken the first step. You see, I am faith walking. I trust that God will work all things together for my good. I have tried it all my way. Now I have surrendered. I am not in control of this situation. It is in God's hands. He has the final say. All I can say is, dear God, I cannot wait to see how you are going to do this. I cannot wait to see you come through and show out. I have taken the first step. Now I am watching how you transition things day by day. You have never failed me, and you won't start now. I trust you in the waiting. Thank you for leaving the 99 to come rescue me. And I titled that devotion Faith Walking, but it's an act of surrendering. It's an act of saying, I am walking in faith. I am trusting you. I am surrendering to you to do what you choose to do because I am making a conscious decision to embrace the plan that you have for my life. I have thrown my hands up in whatever circumstance that this may be speaking to you about. When I wrote this, I was writing this about walking out of a marriage. But this does not have to go with walking out of a marriage. This can be whatever you are surrendering from. So I'm throwing my hands up. I am trusting for you to help me through this. I am surrendering my life over to you. And however you choose to make things work out for me, it's up to you now. That is what the act of surrendering is. It's making the conscious decision to trust in God and embrace his plan for your life. So I have a few questions, and these are questions from the book, Faith Walk to Healing. The first question, do you trust God that he will work all things together for your good? Do you trust that God will work all things together for your good? That's a question that you have to ask yourself when you choose to surrender to God. When you choose to biblically surrender to God, you have to ask yourself, do I trust that God will work all things together for my good? You have to ask yourself that question. And the answer is yes. If we read the scriptures, we know that God promises to work all things together for our good. He just doesn't promise to make it work all together for our good in our desires and our ways. We have to surrender to him and trust that he's going to make all things together for our good in the way that he aligned our lives to go. The second question that we have to ask ourselves when we are choosing to surrender is, will we surrender? Will we surrender to God? Will I make the conscious decision to trust God and surrender to Him? You have to ask yourself, will I make that decision? Because we have free will. So it's our decision to make. We have to decide that we have come to our wits' end and that we are going to trust God and we are going to surrender to His plan for our lives. The third question that I wrote here was, will you trust in the waiting? And that kind of goes to what I just said with question number 2. We have to trust God. We have to trust that God is who He says that He is in order for us to surrender to Him. Because you're not going to surrender to someone or anything that you don't trust. So we have to have belief in God and trust that He is who He says that He is in order for us to surrender to Him. So we have to, again, make that conscious decision to trust in God and embrace His plan for our lives. We have to embrace His plan for our lives. And I titled the devotion Faith Walking, because that's what you are actually doing when you are surrendering to God and trusting His plan. You are walking by faith. And the Bible tells us to walk by faith and not by sight. And we have to do that regardless of how we feel. And everything that I talk about on the podcast is things that I also have to do. I am speaking from experience, or I'm actually walking with you on this journey, because we all have to walk through this together. No one is exempt. We all have to do this together. So I too have to faith walk, just like I had to get up this morning and faith walk into church for the connection to take place. I had to make that conscious decision to faith walk into the Lord's house, regardless to how many times I faith walked into the Lord's house and no one said anything. I still had to try again. It just reminds me of the story in the Bible when they were trying to catch fish, and they had been fishing and fishing and fishing all this time, and they weren't catching anything. And Jesus said, go back out and fish again. Go back out and try again on the other side. And then they caught so many fish that they didn't even have, they could barely hold, that the nets tore. So it's like we have to continue to go on. We have to continue, like Pastor said today, run to win. We have to continue to run to win. And we just have to continue to know that we have to surrender to God, because our life is in His hands and He has everything under control. He has it all figured out, and it's not always the way we see it or the way we thought we would see it. And we normally learn that in midlife. I say midlife because to me, that's kind of my age group, midlife. We're right in the middle. I feel like when you're around 40, that's right in the middle, you know? So that's when you really learn these things, because you've already been living for some time, and doing things a certain way, and then realizing that things don't always turn out like you thought that they would, and you have to surrender and just trust God anyway, and know that His direction is the best direction, and that He's going to see you through. So surrender to God, you guys. Surrender to God. Make the conscious decision to trust in Him and embrace His plan for your life. If you're new to Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra, thank you so much for tuning in to Minutes of Inspiration. This is where you will come every Sunday to be uplifted, inspired, encouraged. My goal is to reach everyone that I can speak to. I believe that certain people have certain people to speak to them. I'm someone who has certain people who can speak to me, and I just grasp on to those people. So I pray that I am someone who is able to speak to you, and meaning that when I speak, you feel what I'm saying, not just hearing my words, but you feel what I'm saying within you and all throughout you. I love when God sends someone into my life who can speak to me like that, who can speak to my inner man. And I pray that I am the voice that is able to speak to you. I pray that you are able to stay connected to Minutes of Inspiration. If you are not aware, I have a YouTube channel. It's also Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra. And now you guys can watch the podcast in video form. So if you are an audio listener and you listen to me on Spotify or you listen to me on Apple Podcasts, you can also watch the podcast episodes live on the YouTube channel. So just go over to Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra on YouTube and subscribe there so that you can be able to watch the video form of the podcast. Also, I have a Facebook group. It is Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra. If you are interested, you can join the Facebook group. There's also Instagram. It's Calandra_Monique. There's also TikTok. It's Minutes of Inspiration with Kay. And yeah, again, if you have not purchased the book and you would like to purchase it, it is Faith Walk to Healing. And you can purchase it on Amazon, or you can click the link tree in my bio on any of my social media platforms that you follow me on, and everything about Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra, me, will be on the link tree in the bio on any of my social media platforms. Also, if you are interested in healing purpose coaching, I am walking into that right now as well. So you are able to schedule a session. The first session is 15 minutes and it's free. After that, there's a 30-minute paid session and there's also a 60-minute paid session. You will also find that information from the link tree in any of the platforms that you follow me on social media. So I also have a scripture for you guys. It is Psalm 127, 1 and 2. It is from the New Living Translation. It reads, "Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat. For God gives rest to his loved ones." For God gives rest to his loved ones. Rest. Surrender and rest in who God is. Surrender and rest into who God is, because God gives rest to his loved ones. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Minutes of Inspiration with Calandra. And as always, know that you are loved, you are valuable, and your life is worth living. Until next time, God bless you.